Chapter 91 The Death of Lord Voldemort. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Swish. The black wand brushed across Voldemort's neck, a silver light flashed away, followed by a red and blackened bloodline. Voldemort left a meaningful smile, and his body dissipated like sand, leaving only a tattered piece of clothing. Ha! Aaron took a deep breath. It's over. Is he dead? Harry asked boldly. It should be. Aaron wiped the sweat from his forehead with slightly trembling hands, and sat on the floor in a collapsed state. After all, it was the first time to kill someone. Although the victim was heinous and wanted to plot against him, he was obviously not mentally prepared. It was a joy to start. After planning for so long, it finally succeeded, but after doing it, he was afraid and disgusted for a while. After all, Voldemort's end was too miserable, and it would not be too much to describe it as having no bones left, which left a little psychological shadow on him. This is too cruel. Hermione couldn't help frowning as she looked at the pile of debris on the ground. You have to recognize the reality. If I didn't do anything just now, we would be the ones who died. Aaron said slowly, his voice was low, but his attitude was quite firm. That's right. A hoarse voice came from the debris, and strands of black air condensed together, forming an illusory and terrifying black shadow floating in midair. Fuck. It's not going to die. Aaron shuddered immediately, followed by the three of Harry tremblingly backing towards the corner. No, you've already killed me once. I'm weak, not even a ghost, but I don't die so easily. Sombra looked at Aaron with red eyes. How does it feel to kill someone for the first time? Isn't it wonderful? Make you unable to extricate yourself. Gulu. Aaron swallowed. No, I just don't want to try again. Not necessarily. Dumbledore will be back soon. Harry said threateningly with an anxious face. If I were you, get out of here quickly. That's right, my current situation can't last long, but I can give you a gift before I leave. Voldemort said meaningfully, and then quickly rushed towards the four of them. The combination of the body made of black mist, the red eyes, and the face without any features looming under the firelight cast a layer of haze on the hearts of several people. Burning flames. Aaron made a decisive decision, waved his wand, and shot a burst of fire, but the black shadow passed through this layer of flames without hindrance, and bypassed Abe, who was standing in front of the protector, and passed through his chest. Aaron's eyes went dark, and he felt dizzy, and gradually closed his eyes. When he fell down, he vaguely saw three Gryffindors who were terrified but still standing, and couldn't help feeling a little tight in the chest. Why was I the only one injured? A day later, Aaron blinked and saw the somewhat familiar ceiling and floor-to-ceiling windows. The sun shines through the window onto the open space in front of his bed, and a neatly dressed cute creature is napping on his right hand. Still alive, it seems that I am lucky. Of course you're lucky. Snape's voice came from the right. It's just a little fright, but it's a sweet dream. Professor, why are you here? Aaron turned his head away, but soon fell into a dazed state. Snape didn't come to visit him. He was also lying on the hospital bed, but his condition was not that good. One arm was wrapped with a thick bandage, which made his face even more grim. Are you injured? What do you think? Snape asked back. Voldemort is a strong man on the same level as Dumbledore, and under normal circumstances we are no match for him at all. With the help of Quirrell's body, he exerted a part of his strength, and even squeezed his life. He fought us face to face with the attitude of failure or benevolence. It is not bad to win miserably. The corner of Aaron's mouth twitched, a little speechless. Miserable victory? Is that a miserable victory? When we were cornered by Voldemort, you and Professor McGonagall didn't move at all, probably passed out. If it was a tragic victory, it was also a tragic victory for Voldemort. He dragged his half-dead body and forcibly defeated the two deans, although he also entered the countdown to death, and he was absolutely hopeless. Otherwise he would never let go of the opportunity to snatch the Philosopher's Stone. There seems to be something wrong with your expression. Are you questioning what I said? No, absolutely not. It's just, Professor, are you sure it was a miserable victory, not a narrow defeat? Of course it was a miserable victory. although we lost consciousness, the last magic also separated his spirit body, without any threat, otherwise do you think you can still live? Aaron read the pleasure of getting revenge from Snape's stern expression, and he could see the special joy in his heart, so he reluctantly admitted the answer. Where's Professor McGonagall? Is she all right? I am here. The voice came from Aaron's left. He turned his head subconsciously, and saw Professor McGonagall, who had a bandage on his right arm just like Snape. Professor McGonagall, it seems that you are also seriously injured. It's just that the hand holding the wand is hurt a little, but Madame Pomfrey obviously doesn't see it that way. She thinks we need to rest for 2 days. Professor Snape is probably doing well. Then what are you still doing here? Occupy a bed. In the infirmary, you have to listen to the doctor. Moreover, being hospitalized is not without its benefits. The official affairs of Gryffindor and Slytherin House have been handed over to the headmaster for temporary handling. It's rare to be a little easier. Professor McGonagall sat up while speaking, took a newspaper from the table, and read it with relish. It was only then that Aaron noticed that the table next to the 2 deans was full of gifts, chocolates, famous wines, and flowers, but there were only a few bouquets of flowers on his table, and nothing left. It hurts. It's so heartbreaking. Although I'm not as popular as you guys, the difference can't be that big. What did you say? Snape sneered. Actually, you are more popular than us. The students, teachers, and staff of the 4 colleges have all visited you, and the 2 of us are actually more like incidental. But who made you have a pet with a voracious appetite? Dragons are not as greedy as it is. Hearing this, Aaron looked at the dozing Abe thoughtfully, then he pressed the faucet hard to wake Abe from his sleep. Xinglong, whose dream was interrupted, got up a little angry, flapped his claws, and slapped Aaron's palm away. Just as it grinned its teeth and was about to growl, it saw its owner's unkind face. Abe's face changed instantly. He pretended to be stupid, and threw himself into Aaron's arms, rubbing his dragon face against his chest. Hagrid's magical animals are not exaggerated, Snape said with emotion. Stop making trouble, come down to me. Aaron grabbed Abe, put it in front of him, and then pointed to the table with only flowers left. Don't tell me that you will give me everything I can eat. I don't feel sorry for those gifts, I just feel that you didn't leave some for your master. Abe froze for a moment, then stretched out his paws and began to take things out of his pockets. Chocolate, fruit, candy, and all kinds of snacks were placed on the table by it, and it piled up into a hill in a short while, which was more than the 2 professors combined. This. Aaron stayed for a while, then patted it on the head with a light smile. That's right. Sensible. The untraceable stretching curse. Professor McGonagall opened his mouth wide in surprise. You actually used this kind of spell on a pet's clothes. It's not an ordinary pet. Aaron smiled and stroked the dragon. It's my family, and it followed me when it hatched from the egg. My parents love it and prepare a lot of things for it, even the recipe is special. Aaron, what kind of creature is it? Professor McGonagall asked seriously. This, can you not say it? Cannot. You may not know that Hagrid was expelled from Hogwarts for keeping a magical animal. Professor McGonagall said earnestly, I have no other intentions, I just hope you understand the seriousness of the matter. But Abe is different. Aaron argued, if it hadn't attacked Voldemort at a critical moment, you and Professor Snape probably wouldn't have injured an arm. In other words, it indirectly helped you, even saved you. Professor McGonagall opened his mouth, looked at the white pet in Aaron's arms, and was speechless to refute. This magical creature suspected of being a dragon sent them a letter, and helped them a lot in the battle, and it was even one of the main contributors to preventing Voldemort's resurrection. If the crisis passed, he would cling to its identity, and Professor McGonagall would feel a little blush. Actually, we don't want to embarrass you, or we can pretend we don't know anything. Snape took a deep look at Aaron, but Dumbledore already knew. He's the headmaster of Hogwarts, and he's responsible for figuring out who this magical animal is and how dangerous it is, so you have to give him an explanation. Chapter 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the afternoon, Aaron walked out of the infirmary with 2 college professors. It's just that Madame Pomfrey's face was not very good looking when she left. From her doctor's professional point of view, although the 3 patients seem to have fully recovered, their mental state is obviously not very good, and they need to be recuperated for a day or 2. The destination of the 3 is very clear: Dumbledore's headmaster's office. Aaron walked between the 2 professors, holding a cute white pet in his arms, looking like a rich young man, although he was originally, but at this moment Aaron just felt particularly embarrassed, because the eyes of the 2 professors did not leave Abe in his arms. In comparison, the pet's status was even higher than his owner. 2 professors, it really doesn't matter, although Abe is a magical animal, it's not like you haven't seen it. Aaron said with some embarrassment, "You don't need to follow me, it's not like I haven't been to the principal's office. I used to think of Abe as a naughty and cute cat." Professor McGonagall smiled slightly. "I even fed him snacks. Can you imagine how excited I was after knowing that he was a magical animal?" Not everyone can be friends with magical animals like Hagrid, because he is very patient with magical animals, and the feelings he has cultivated since childhood have allowed him to gain incredible friendships. But even Hagrid has never really tamed a dragon, but you have raised a dragon to your side in a grandiose manner, and tamed it so well. Professor McGonagall, it's too early for you to be so eager to define it as a dragon. Dragons can't control their size, and dragons can't be so obedient. Professor Snape said meaningfully, "You'd better ensure that it's not harmful and won't suddenly explode and hurt people, otherwise it's not as simple as sending it home." Hagrid was expelled from school because he kept a terrible magical animal during school, and that magical animal still lives in the Forbidden Forest. You also know that the dragon that just broke its shell was sent to Romania, so, think about how to explain it for a while, otherwise the consequences will be unpredictable. Aaron paused for a moment, then let out a long sigh. "Thank you for your concern, Professor, but I guess I probably don't need an explanation." "No, you must not think that way." The smile on Professor McGonagall's face instantly subsided. "Dumbledore is a benevolent and kind headmaster, but because of this, you have to explain it clearly to him so that he can understand, but you don't have to worry too much. Abe is the hero after all. Professor Snape and I will speak for you. The worst result is that you can't keep it at school, and you won't get any serious punishment." The corner of Aaron's mouth twitched. "Isn't it a punishment if you can't raise it?" But thinking of the letter of guarantee he prepared, Aaron put his heart in his stomach again. In all fairness, he didn't want to be exposed so early. Acting as low-key as possible and developing steadily is the correct route for him now, but if Dumbledore really held on to Abe's identity as a magical animal, then he could only take out the license for raising dragons. This is also impossible. After all, he raises a holy dragon that has never been seen before and can even cause shocks in the magic world. It is necessary to plan ahead. When they came to the 5th floor, the 3 ran into Harry Potter. "Aaron, there are 2 other professors." Harry expressed surprise. "You have recovered." "There was nothing serious about us. Madame Pomfrey made a big fuss." Aaron said very speechlessly, "He doesn't like dealing with doctors, because patients have to listen to doctors regardless of their status, willingness or not. You all lost consciousness at the time, and we were all panicked. Fortunately, Dumbledore came back in time, otherwise we really don't know what to do." Aaron opened his mouth, not knowing how to refute. He has worked so hard to plan and prepare so much. The 2 professors were almost defeated, and he himself was beaten by the Dark Lord. In the end, everything was over. Dumbledore came back. How could this be called timely? Generally speaking, those who appeared on the scene when the dust settled were either to pick peaches or to wash the ground, and Dumbledore was obviously the latter. "Where are you going?" "The headmaster's office. Dumbledore has something to talk to me about." Harry nodded thoughtfully. He didn't think of the question on Abe. In his opinion, Dumbledore probably only wanted to find out what happened last night when he came to Aaron. After all, the matter was relatively big, and the headmaster had the responsibility to figure it out. "Professor Snape." Harry put his eyes on Snape with a calm face, and bowed sincerely. "I'm sorry, I should apologize to you. I may have some not-so-good doubts about you because of some personal subjective wishes." Snape stared into Harry's pupils, turned his face away after a long silence, and walked past him on his own. "Never mind, Harry," Professor McGonagall explained. "Professor Snape is like that. He's not good at expressing his feelings in words, but I can see that he has forgiven you, or he never blamed you." Harry was a little skeptical. After all, He didn't see it in the slightest, and he instinctively felt that Snape's attitude towards him would not change even a single bit because of this apology, and he would still target him in different ways as before. By the way, Professor McGonagall, do you know the relationship between Professor Snape and me, my parents? Harry asked curiously. Professor McGonagall froze for a moment, then shook his head slightly. I don't know. Okay. Harry looked at Aaron again. There is something you need to know. The whole school seems to know that we broke into the trap door last night. We definitely didn't tell it, but the secret just spread like wildfire. What? Aaron frowned, his whole face stunned. Several suspects flashed through his mind quickly, and finally determined the target on the smiling Dumbledore. Only a few of them knew about this matter. Although Hagrid couldn't keep the secret, it was impossible for him to leak it so quickly, let alone make it known to everyone in a day. In the whole of Hogwarts, there was only the headmaster. Have this ability. Aaron's face was not very good looking. He didn't know what Dumbledore's doing would do him any good, but he could be sure that it wouldn't do him any good. Originally, he was just an excellent Slytherin with a certain reputation, but it also fit his personality. But now he has become famous, which will allow him to enter the attention of many people in advance. Let's go, Aaron. Professor McGonagall reminded. Good professor. A few minutes later, the three arrived at the door of the principal's office. Snape knocked on the door, and the voice of "Please come in" came from the office. Opening the door, Aaron couldn't help but patted his forehead, because beside Dumbledore stood a giant who couldn't stop smiling. Rubeus Hagrid, he beamed, happy like a child weighing hundreds of pounds. Hagrid had always wanted to know what kind of magical animal Abe was, but because he had offended Aaron several times before, he was always embarrassed to ask, and today he finally got what he wanted. Good afternoon, Aaron, said Dumbledore. Good afternoon, Professor Dumbledore. Aaron sat on a chair very familiarly. Professor, did you call me here to return my potion? Dumbledore smiled awkwardly, and took out a bottle of potion from the drawer. Take it. It's safe now, but I still want to remind you, don't let other people know that you have such a bottle of potion, otherwise your situation will be very dangerous. Aaron couldn't wait to put away the bottle of resurrection potion. His personal panel had proved that it was genuine, so he wasn't worried about what Dumbledore would do. Feeling that his second life was back, Aaron instantly felt a sense of security. Then let's talk about other things. Dumbledore cut to the chase. I have a brief understanding of your plan and everything that happened under the trapdoor from Harry and the others. Shrewd, judging the situation, protecting oneself wisely, and winning first, but at the same time, he also showed sufficient responsibility. You're a perfect Slytherin, no wonder Voldemort takes such a fancy to you. Actually, it's not that exaggerated. It's true, Aaron, even I have to admit that I was nowhere near as good as you when you were your age. Dumbledore praised, then turned his attention to Abe, and was stunned in surprise. I saw that Abe was staring at Fawkes on the golden perching branch with eyes full of eyes, and the saliva slipped from the corner of his mouth in disbelief. This time he was sure that Abe was indeed interested in Phoenix, but isn't this too exaggerated, actually wanting to eat a phoenix? How much did you drink? Chapter 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Aaron, is it a dragon? Hagrid asked expectantly, although in some respects Abe has nothing to do with dragons, but he has raised so many magical animals and has a certain intuition in this regard. Aaron hesitated for a while, then reluctantly nodded. A dragon, a special dragon. It's not a mutation, but it's not a hybrid. If I have to say it, my family's Abe is the only one among the dragons, and also the most noble existence. After the words fell, 4 pairs of eyes full of curiosity and surprise fell on Abe, which made Aaron feel a little unhappy, and subconsciously hugged the pet in his arms tightly. Don't be nervous, Aaron. Dumbledore laughed. We won't do anything to it. After all, it performed really well last night, and even played a decisive role. If it weren't for it, the 2 professors Snape and McGonagall might have suffered more than just minor injuries. Hogwarts can't lose 2 professors, let alone 2 deans, so, it has a lot of credit. Thank you for the compliment. But the merits and demerits are clear. Dumbledore changed the subject. We must admit that you defended Hogwarts and even prevented a possible catastrophe, but it's a fact that you brought a magical animal to this magic school, so you'll have to accept some punishment. I had a good idea, with credit and fault, if the merits and demerits are balanced, you can raise it, but it cannot appear in school from next semester. What do you think? Aaron frowned, always feeling that the words equal merits and demerits were full of deep meaning. Professor, may I ask, how is my credit calculated? Dumbledore crossed his fingers and put his hands on the desk, making a serious look. The credit is the score of the college. Harry, Hermione, and Ron, the 3 Gryffindors performed well last night, and I will give them some encouragement. Of course you are, too, and your rewards will be greater because you deserve it. Oh, Aaron suddenly realized that the only thing that could be related to the score was the Academy Cup. Gryffindor is number 2 from the bottom, slightly higher than Hufflepuff, and Slytherin's championship is already a certainty, but if Gryffindor's score skyrocketed due to a certain major incident, even surpassing the 150 points deducted by Harry and the others, then the gap would be infinitely reduced. Unless Slytherin can also increase the corresponding score, it is not impossible to be overtaken. But why did Dumbledore do this? Could it be that Slytherin has won the House Cup 6 consecutive times, making him, an old wizard from Gryffindor, look down on it? This possibility cannot be ruled out, but it is very unlikely. The Academy Cup is an honor, but if it wasn't for system tasks, Aaron wouldn't even look down on this meaningless honor, let alone Dumbledore, the greatest white mage of this century. Thinking of this, a flash of inspiration suddenly flashed in Aaron's mind. Dumbledore is indeed for Gryffindor, more precisely for the 3 wizards of Gryffindor, and more precisely for Harry Potter. Using the honor of the Academy Cup can really encourage him to the greatest extent, and make this boy who is relatively new to the wizarding world more confident, especially when he defeated Slytherin, who won the Academy Cup for 6 consecutive times in the first year of school. There is no one else. He, Slytherin, is favored by the Dark Lord, and Harry Potter, Gryffindor, is favored by the White Lord. Okay. I figured out something. Aaron rubbed his temples, and then said in a solemn tone, but I'm sorry, I don't want to give up this Academy Cup yet. Dumbledore froze for a moment. He didn't expect Aaron to see through his intentions. Snape frowned slightly. When Aaron said this, he also thought of Dumbledore's purpose. To be honest, he wasn't very interested in the House Cup, but he was interested in beating Gryffindor and beating Harry Potter. If because of Harry and others, Gryffindor turned against Slytherin, he might be depressed for a while this summer vacation. Professor McGonagall felt like a pie in the sky. Although Aaron didn't agree, it was only temporary, unless he could convince Dumbledore that he was right in keeping the fantastic animal, which obviously wasn't possible. Let's talk about my fault. Professor Dumbledore. Aaron said meaningfully, and then glanced at Fox perched on a golden branch. If it is wrong to raise a magical animal, it seems that other than me, Hogwarts also has a magical animal. Principal Dumbledore, you can't be so double-standard. I am the principal. Can the headmaster be more noble than the students? Or does the headmaster not have to abide by Hogwarts rules and regulations? Aaron asked back, and I remember that the school rules don't seem to say that magical animals are not allowed, right? No. Dumbledore said solemnly, but dangerous animals are not allowed, such as dragons or thunderbirds. They can cause a lot of damage just by sneezing. There are too many people in the school, and most of them are not strong enough. What if something happens? Our authoritative Hagrid may have a better say in this regard. He raised an 8-eyed giant spider, and it turned out that he was severely punished. Hagrid lowered his head slightly, and whispered in frustration, Aragog is innocent, it has nothing to do with that so-called secret room. But you can't deny its dangers, its ferocious nature, and its instinct to eat people, even if it listens to you. But Hagrid, you can't guarantee whether it will want to change its taste one day, and have a tooth-fighting ceremony or something. Well, I can guarantee that my Abe is safe. Aaron said. Unfortunately. Dumbledore shook his head. Hagrid also thought so at the beginning, but this kind of guarantee without any basis is not convincing at all. And a safe magical animal wouldn't suddenly grow so big, let alone attack a dark wizard who could send the wizarding world into a panic. Aaron, your pet is more powerful and dangerous than you think. Professor, with all due respect, if Abe is what you say, what about your fox? The phoenix is a powerful magical creature, it is very magical, and many wizards who have seen the dragon may not have seen the phoenix. Yes. Dumbledore nodded. The phoenix is very powerful, I don't deny it, but the reason why I can keep it is because I tamed it. It listens to me and won't hurt others. Many people can prove this point. Sir Merlin, the Ministry of Magic, and the International Federation of Wizards can all vouch for me. They all believe that I have this strength. That means that as long as someone can vouch for me, I can support Abe. Aaron asked meaningfully. You can say that, but the guarantor should not be too casual and needs to have sufficient authority. Don't mention it if it's your parents. Their status may be very noble, but they need to avoid suspicion in this matter. Aaron let out a long sigh. He was very thankful that he had made adequate preparations before coming to school, otherwise he would have been caught off guard. Who would have thought that the majestic White Demon King would be as narrow-minded as the Dark Lord, and he would bully a 12-year-old student in a different way in order to achieve his own goals. If it was something else, Aaron might have tolerated it. But the Academy Cup is related to his mission and is the first pot of gold on his growth path, so it cannot be let go. How are you thinking? Dumbledore asked. Maybe he also felt a little embarrassed. Of course, as long as you can get enough guarantees during the holidays, you can also raise it at school, but this semester is not good. It's fine if you don't find it, but since we found it, we can't turn a blind eye. Please forgive me. Aaron, you have used your power for personal gain, so how can you let others understand? Forget it, Gaius, let it be. Snape pretended to be indifferent. It's just the Academy Cup, just bring it back next school year. No. Aaron said righteously, although I'm not interested in the Academy Cup, it must be mine if it's mine, and no one can take it away. But. Wait a minute. Aaron interrupted him, and took out a piece of yellow paper from his pocket. This is my guarantee. Snape was taken aback for a moment, took the yellow paper and looked at it, but after a few glances, his hands trembled accidentally, and then he looked at Aaron in surprise, and asked in disbelief, is this true? Of course it's true. Does anyone in the wizarding world dare to use their names as jokes? It's hard to say. Snape breathed a sigh of relief. After all, I only know half of the names on this guarantee letter, and I haven't heard of the rest, but only relying on this half can allow you to raise it in a fair manner. It's the first time I've seen someone do this for a magical animal. It's incredible. Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Aaron entered the common room, Crabbe and Goyle came from the middle of the hall, blocking him with their heavy bodies. If it's okay, don't get in the way. You two are tall and big, and it is easy to cause misunderstanding when you suddenly appear in front of me. Aaron said speechlessly, I might beat you out because I'm in a bad mood. The two immediately moved out of the way, politely invited Aaron to a sofa, and handed Abe a plate of fruit. By the way, Abe's eyes lit up, and except for one apple, he stuffed the rest into his pocket. If you have something to say, I don't think you two will come to me for no reason. The test results are out. I don't know why Dumbledore announced the results in advance. Crabbe said, you have full marks, all subjects are full marks. The boss's grades are also very good, but it's just that he lost, right? Aaron said with some relief. This result was as he expected, at least he didn't give away the favors from his family. Yes. Crabbe nodded. The total score is 12 points behind Granger, and the ranking is just below her. Not only her, but Weasley and Potter's grades are also very high, which compares the two of us. Unable to accept this outcome, Draco locked himself in the room and refused to let us in. This is normal. But don't worry, he'll be out soon. Of course we believe him. Gore said with some embarrassment, but it has been more than 10 hours, and he hasn't come out yet, and he hasn't even eaten lunch. We don't know how to comfort him. Fortunately, you are back. So, you want me to persuade him? Yes, you have the best relationship with him. Only you can persuade him. Crabbe said, at least let him open the door. We don't want to sleep on the sofa in the lounge at night. The corner of Aaron's mouth twitched. Malfoy didn't know if he was lucky or unlucky to have such a follower. For these two goods, the quality of sleep seems to be more important. Okay, leave it to me. Aaron picked up Abe, walked to Draco's dormitory, and knocked lightly on the door a few times. "I said it all, don't bother me." Draco's voice came from inside the door, sounding particularly angry. "It's me." After a few seconds, the door opened. When Draco saw Aaron, the depression on his face dissipated a lot, and was soon replaced by joy. "I heard that someone was sulking because of poor academic performance, so I came here to take a look." "Who said it? Crabbe or Goyle, or are they together?" "Of course they are together." Aaron said speechlessly, "They came here as soon as I came back, and wanted me to comfort you." "Comfort?" Draco stood up a little annoyed. "They think I'm too fragile." "I don't need consolation, it's just a big deal, and it's not that I can't afford to lose. At worst, I'll be more polite when I see her in the future." "Then you still locked yourself in the room?" Draco's expression changed, and he hesitated and said, I just have to think about how to tell my dad." "What can't you say?" "Your grades are still very good, he should be proud of you." "That's what I said, but I lost to Granger after all, to a wizard from a Muggle family. He expresses his admiration for me every time he writes, and if I let him know, he may be disappointed." "Just because of this you locked yourself in the room?" Aaron rolled his eyes speechlessly. "How boring are you? This is completely groundless worry. Lucius Malfoy would not casually lose his temper with his precious son just because of a test result." "But, she's just one rank higher than me, if my father asks." "No but." Aaron interrupted him, thinking about it from another angle. "You have at least defeated Harry Potter and your family's nemesis, Weasley. Based on these 2 points alone, he couldn't fault it, and as far as I know, your father didn't take such a test in school, he didn't do well in the exam himself, so why should he educate you?" "This." Draco froze for a moment. "Are you sure?" "Very sure, a certain professor told me that." Aaron spoke nonsense bluntly. He had no idea about Lucius' grades, but he was sure that Lucius Malfoy was no better than his son, who had been working hard all year. Draco breathed a sigh of relief. He cared very much about his father's opinion, and now it seems that he is the best. "Aaron, did you really go to the underground classroom with Harry Potter and the others the night before, and defeated Professor Quirrell and destroyed his conspiracy? Is this real?" "It's true, otherwise the 2 professors and I wouldn't have spent a day in the infirmary." "Can you be more specific?" Draco rubbed his hands a little excitedly, obviously very interested in this matter. How should I say it? We split up and happened to meet at the trapdoor." Aaron gave Draco a brief description of the specific process. Of course there must be some deletions, with Voldemort neatly removed from his story. The fact that the Dark Lord was alive and waiting for his chance to make a comeback was not appropriate for Draco to know. "It's too exciting, but it's also too dangerous." Draco patted the bed sheet angrily. "It's all Harry's fault, it was much safer according to your plan, and they dragged you into the water, it even hurt you. It's all over, at least the result is still good. You're just too generous." Draco said angrily, "If they hadn't insisted on going their own way, you wouldn't have been in a coma for so long, and Hagrid, the half-blood giant, is an idiot, and it's fine if the secret is leaked, but he didn't realize that it was more or less unreasonable." Aaron, confidant. On the second night, all the teachers and students of the school gathered in the auditorium one after another for the year-end banquet. Rows of green flags representing Slytherin houses hang from the ceiling to celebrate their 7th straight House Cup win. The auditorium was extremely noisy, and the tables were full of exquisite food, but they could only watch but not eat until the principal announced the start of the banquet. Aaron held down a bay, who was a little halotzi, for fear that it would be unable to hold back and would pounce on the table to eat. Ding, ding. Ding. There was a crisp knocking sound, and the noisy sound quickly subsided. Professor McGonagall put down the golden spoon in her hand, and Dumbledore, who was sitting next to her, stood up and faced all the students. "Another year has passed, and the whole summer vacation is waiting for you. You must be impatient. Before we can indulge in these delicious dishes, we have to hand out the Academy Cup." Dumbledore said excitedly, "We have already counted the scores. The specific scores of each college are as follows. Number 4, Gryffindor, 323 points, number 3, Hufflepuff, a total score of 352 points. Number 2, Ravenclaw, 437 points. Topping the list is Slytherin College, a total score of 493 points. As the voice fell, deafening cheers erupted from the Slytherin dining table, but the faces of the students from the other 3 colleges were not very good. They just applauded symbolically. The sound of applause is like a stone sinking into the sea, and there is no splash in the cheers. It is true that Slytherin is excellent, but it is not true that his popularity is not very good, and it is estimated that it has something to do with too many consecutive championships. Anyone who has been suppressed for 6 years, no, 7 years, probably won't be in a good mood. At the teacher's seat, Snape applauded quickly. Professor Sprout and Professor Flitwick were not so competitive. Although it was a pity, if you lose, you lose. It doesn't matter, but Professor McGonagall was so sad that he didn't even bother to pretend. The words sadness and disappointment were almost written on his face. Very well, Slytherin, very well, Slytherin, said Dumbledore, but recent events must also be taken into account. I still have some final points to award. The scene fell silent instantly, and the smiles of Slytherin, who had already won the championship, gradually faded away, while the other students looked expectant. Suddenly there was an accident at this time, which meant that there might be changes in the Academy Cup, because the points that Dumbledore, the headmaster, can award personally will definitely not be a small amount. If enough points are added to a certain house, such as Ravenclaw, which is ranked second, it may overtake Slytherin. But Professor McGonagall, who knew the truth, didn't look forward to it. This game only made Gryffindor's loss less ugly, but it still couldn't hit Slytherin's championship. Miss Hermione Granger. Dumbledore looked at a little wizard on the Gryffindor long table with a smile. When others are in danger, she will give 50 points to her for her calm and clever use of her ingenuity. Hermione pursed her lips, and the corners of her mouth couldn't stop rising, and the Gryffindor at the same table also burst into loud cheers. 50 points, with these 50 points they are number 3, getting rid of the bottom one. The second is awarded to Mr. Ron Weasley. He has demonstrated superb chess skills and is the best in Hogwarts for 100 years. The reward is 50 points. The cheers sounded again, and Ron was dazed by the sudden reward, while his older brothers proudly showed off to others that Ron was their youngest brother. The third, to Harry Potter, for his daring and his extraordinary courage, for which I award Gryffindor House 60 points. The voice fell, and the entire auditorium fell into a sea of cheers. Except for Slytherin, the other 3 houses began to shout for Gryffindor. Now they are only 10 minutes away from pulling Slytherin out of the championship. Almost everyone is looking forward to it. They looked at their headmaster, hoping to give Gryffindor some extra points. Chapter 96 Slytherin's 7 consecutive championships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's there to be proud of? Draco said with a look of resentment, if it wasn't for Aaron, you made a timely move, and Weasley wouldn't even know if he was alive or not. You can't say that. Aaron disagreed, I just pushed Ron at the right time, but if it weren't for him, we really wouldn't be able to break through that giant chessboard. Draco snorted coldly, somewhat dissatisfied with this modest. Gryffindor now has 483 points, number 2, but so what? The 3 of them have already finished adding points, so they can't add points in different ways. No one will be convinced. This, who knows? Aaron smiled helplessly. Judging from his dealings with Dumbledore these few times, the lower limit of the White Demon King is obviously not that high. But the problem is, this bad old man can always stand firm in his character, jumping repeatedly within the rules, and no one can find any faults. This is called skill. The 4th item. Dumbledore spoke again, and the entire auditorium fell silent. There are many types of courage. It takes courage to uphold principles against enemies, and it takes courage to stand up for resistance, but it takes courage even more to uphold principles with friends. I award 10 points to Neville Longbottom. Violent cheers echoed in the auditorium. Everyone in Gryffindor was elated, only Neville Longbottom himself was in a daze, unable to recover from this surprise for a long time. He himself is not very smart, he is always hesitant in doing things, and his academic performance is not much better. He belongs to the kind of person who stands in a crowd and is very ordinary. After the whole school year, he didn't add a point to his college, but he didn't expect to show his face fiercely at the year-end dinner. So now there is a small problem. Gryffindor and Slytherin have the same score, but there is only one house cup. Dumbledore said loudly, suppressing the noisy voice in the auditorium, and then looked at Slytherin table, and gave Aaron a meaningful smile. The Gryffindor students also thought of something, and their smiles were slightly restrained. Although their faces were not as ugly as they were at the beginning, they were not very happy. The three of Harry looked at each other and smiled wryly, almost forgot about this, but turned around to congratulate him. Although Aaron was a Slytherin, he was not as rebellious as other Slytherins, and he helped them a lot. Otherwise that night would have been a close call. It was just that he was able to turn the tide, and he hoped to win the Academy Cup, but he was held tightly by Slytherin. Before touching it, and he felt somewhat uncomfortable. I believe everyone has guessed what I'm going to say. Dumbledore said, yes, the last item, Aaron Gaius. He showed amazing resourcefulness, reached out to his friends when they were in distress, and found the right way out in the fog with wisdom and calmness. Of course, his ability to plan for a rainy day is also quite good, and he has made extremely full preparations before taking risks. I plan to reward him with 100 points for this excellent Slytherin. Putting it all together, if our calculations are correct, Slytherin wins the House Cup. Slytherin, who had been suppressed for 4 rounds, finally couldn't restrain their emotions, cheered loudly, and firmly suppressed the other 3 houses with only the momentum of one house. 6 consecutive championships turned into 7 consecutive championships, which is more exciting than 6 consecutive championships. Draco stood up and gave Aaron a hug, showing everyone their friendship. And the Slytherin prefect smiled and gave him an encouraging look. There were even a few seniors who gave him a wink, which made Aaron look a little unnatural, because the looks of these seniors were really forced, and there was only one who could see it. In the 3rd week of June, Hogwarts is officially closed. Aaron packed his bags and put them in the trunk. Abe also put on a new set of clothes, and carried a small backpack by the way, as if he was going on a long journey. Draco walked into Aaron's dormitory with the school's notice. The school warns the students not to use magic during the holidays. Really, don't they know that we are wizards? Stop whining. This rule is set by the Ministry of Magic, and has nothing to do with the school. Aaron, you must come to my house as a guest when you are on vacation. Our family will welcome you very much. Aaron hesitated for a moment and did not give him a definite answer. Is there a problem? I'm just not sure I have the time. Don't be funny, we are only 12 years old, and we don't have to go to work at the Ministry of Magic, so why don't we have time? Draco said speechlessly, and then suddenly thought of something. Could it be that the heirs of your families have to take over at the age of 12? Part of the industry? How is it possible? Aaron rolled his eyes. No matter how precocious you are, you won't be exposed to these at the age of 12, besides, my parents are only in their early 30s this year, and they will not put these burdens on me when they are not ready to work. Then why don't you have time? Aaron pursed his lips, looked at Draco's sincere face, and was embarrassed to say it was because of his intuition, so he simply changed his words. I will go if I have time. It's almost there. Coming outside the station, Aaron happened to see Hagrid sending Harry onto the train, and was looking this way. Aaron immediately lowered his head, stuffed Abe behind the suitcase, and kept thinking that he couldn't see me, but when he walked up to the car door, he was still shrouded in a large black shadow. Looking up, a familiar big face looked at him with a smile. Aaron sighed helplessly, but he still didn't escape. If I had known about that bottle of Felix elixir, I would have saved it. It's unreasonable not to say hello to acquaintances. Hagrid pretended to be preaching, while his eyes rolled around, as if he was searching for something. Don't look for it, it's here. Aaron slipped Abity up, and Hagrid's eyes immediately shone brightly. He wanted to take a closer look, but restrained himself in time. Envy? Hagrid nodded vigorously, his beard trembling constantly. If it wasn't for the fact that there were too many people at the station, he might have been able to scream. Aaron is the only one who raises a magical creature, or a special dragon, in the whole magic world. Can he not be envious? Hagrid did have a lot of magical animals, but they couldn't keep up with him for too long, and once they got too big, they couldn't hide it. most of them hid in the Forbidden Forest, and a small part went to other places, either sent to the natural world to live in groups, or received by professionals. For example, Mau Mau was guarding the trapdoor for Dumbledore. After all these years, the only one who can follow him is Yaya, the Neapolitan Mastiff. The little guy is still so cute. Will I still see him next term? If there are no accidents, it should be fine. Aaron said lightly, but I think it doesn't want to see you. After the words fell, Abe also turned his face away, not giving Hagrid a good look at all. Don't be so heartless. I apologize again for what I did. Hagrid said aggrievedly, and then took out a wrapped roast chicken from his pocket. This is my sincerity, I got it from the kitchen, and it's still warm. Abe opened one eye, glanced lightly, and then looked at Aaron, barely restraining his growl. Humph. Don't be ashamed of such a small trick, you used this trick to stun Abbe. Aaron said disdainfully. This kind of thing will never happen again in the future. Hagrid smiled mischievously. Besides, we didn't think it was a dragon at the time. Aaron pouted, but still put away the roast chicken and stuffed it into Abe's backpack. This train will take a long time. There is no such thing in the train, and he will not be hypocritical if he can eat better. We have received the sincerity, see you next semester. Aaron was about to board the train, but was stopped by Hagrid. Wait, can I touch it? Hagrid said shyly. Aaron suddenly felt that the roast chicken in his hand was no longer fragrant, and he was short of hands, but everything was in his hands, and it was impossible to return it. Sorry, I can't agree to this request yet. Aaron directly refused, and Hagrid wanted to try again, but Abe quickly got into the car door and failed to let him succeed. This runs fast enough. Aaron shrugged, handed the box to a conductor, and boarded the train. He passed several carriages in a row, but they were all full, and there was not a single empty seat. The corner of his mouth twitched when he opened the door of the next carriage. They were all acquaintances, but they were just 3 Gryffindors. What a coincidence. There should be vacant seats here, right? Yes, of course. Harry said immediately, and Hermione happily moved aside. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The train was moving slowly, and the scenery outside the window was changing rapidly. Aaron put Abe on the table, and he couldn't wait to take out the roast chicken from the bag, then tore a chicken leg for himself, and ate it on his own. It's still so edible. Ron smelled the scent, swallowed, and resisted the plan to snatch food from the beast's mouth. He couldn't forget the scene after Abe's transformation. With his small body, he would probably be knocked out if he pawed down. Isn't it normal for a dragon to have a bigger appetite? Yaron said as he should. He didn't have so many worries. He tore off the other chicken leg and put it in his mouth. One thing to say, the food at Hogwarts is still very good. Is it really a dragon? Hermione raised her eyebrows, wanting to touch it, but restrained herself halfway through her hand. That's right, it's just a dragon that has never appeared in the magic world, unique, only this one. That's pretty cool. Ron exclaimed. If Charlie found out, he'd drop all his work and come back. Don't do stupid things. Harry gave Ron a look, and he shrugged resentfully. At this point, even if we want to keep it a secret, we can't keep it for long. The professors at the college knew it, so Dumbledore must have known it too. Don't worry, they will keep it a secret. Aaron said calmly, I successfully persuaded Dumbledore that I can raise it even in school. That's great. Hermione smiled all over her face. It will be much easier for you in the future, and so will we. By the way, Aaron, what are your plans for the holidays? Harry asked. Me? I guess I will go back to Diagon Alley and continue to run my small shop. I haven't been back for almost a year, and I don't know how the business is doing, but it shouldn't be much worse. For me, not losing money is making money. The 3 of them looked at each other, unable to react. In their perception, it was impossible for the Ministry of Magic to allow a child to open a shop in Diagon Alley. Your family helped make it? Hermione asked. Of course, I had my uncle set up a shop for me when I was 9 years old. It's not very big, but it has complete procedures and is definitely a legal business. 9 years old? The corner of Ron's mouth twitched. When he was 9 years old, he was still playing with his older brothers. It's too early to be self-reliant. It's an exaggeration, said Harry with a smirk. The first 11 years of his life were either bullied by Dudley, bullied by Dudley's friends, or bullied by them together. It was simply a bitter history. The gayest beverage store is not very famous, but it can earn some pocket money. Aaron said with some pride, I'm always there. If you want to find me, you can go there. If I happen to be away, you can also drop me a message or something and I'll get back to you the next day. Of course, if you come to my house as a guest, I am also very welcome. I might not be able to go. Harry shook his head with a wry smile. Holidays are home for you, but not for me at all. The three of them gave Harry a complicated look mixed with sympathy at the same time, but they didn't know how to comfort them. His parents died when he was 1 year old, and he was fostered by his uncle's house, but they didn't get any care, and some were just treated unfairly. It seemed that for them, it was enough to ensure that Harry would not freeze to death or starve to death. If he could stay in school, Harry would definitely choose to stay, but obviously he couldn't, otherwise he wouldn't be on the train now. Why don't you come to my house? Ron suggested. I'll let the owl deliver the letter to you. It's quite normal to visit a classmate's house during the holidays. If you come to my house every 3 days, they shouldn't stop you. Harry's eyes lit up, although based on what he knew about his uncle and aunt, they might really stop him, because that family just didn't want to see him live well, but it's also possible that they won't stop him, because they don't like to see him, and they don't see him. Although the chance of letting him go out is a little smaller, it is not impossible, and it is somewhat hopeful. The train traveled for a long time, and Aaron took advantage of this time to collect the rewards for his 3 missions. Help Slytherin get the Academy Cup, reward 500 magic points. Recognized by at least 3 professors, reward 500 magic points. Kill Voldemort's remnant soul, reward 1000 magic points. That's how he got magic points, plus what he saved now. It can be regarded as breaking through the mark. This feeling of getting rich overnight made him somewhat overwhelmed, but then there was ecstasy. With this wealth, he could step into the level of a wizard in minutes, and Abe could evolve again, and this time he would awaken his talent skills. In addition, he can also make some appropriate consumption. As long as it is not too expensive, he can also reluctantly place an order. When the train stopped at platform 9 3/4, Aaron opened his eyes amidst the long whistle. Arrive? Harry nodded. Well, do you feel a little sore in your shoulders? Aaron was still a little puzzled, but the next moment he found Hermione was leaning on his shoulder, sleeping very soundly. Grass. When did it happen? 2 hours ago. Harry said with a playful smile. You all fell asleep, and I'm too embarrassed to call. Aaron curled his lips, and gently pulled his shoulders out. I admit that waking up beforehand would be a little embarrassing, but at least it's better than you. Harry's complexion changed, and he turned his head to look at Ron, who was lying on his shoulder, feeling a little heartbroken for no reason. At this moment, an old guard knocked on the carriage door and woke up the remaining 2 people. Children, it's time for you to get out of the carriage. Take your suitcase and line up. By the way, we get out of this platform in batches. We can't go out too many people at one time, or we will be noticed by muggles. After queuing for a long time, it was their turn. As soon as Aaron came out of the platform, he saw Jeans greeting him with a smile. I've been waiting for half an hour, young master. You can hurry up next time. You shouldn't have told me that. Aaron rolled his eyes and handed the suitcase to the butler casually. Jeans took it with a smile, then glanced at him holding Abe, and couldn't help frowning slightly. Has Abe gained weight? It's not important. Abe also nodded vigorously. It has such a big appetite, and there is nothing it can do. Jeans walked up to Aaron, picked up Abe, weighed it carefully. It is indeed fatter, and it has gained a kilogram. It seems that I have to rearrange a diet for it after I go back. Abe's face collapsed. His whole face was filled with unhappiness. No need to think about it. Jeans will definitely delete a considerable part of the meat in his recipe, or directly replace them with vegetarian ones, and he will definitely do this kind of thing. Thinking of this, Abe immediately showed a pitiful expression, and gave Aaron a resentful look. It's not possible. Aaron said with a sneer, is this necessary? I listen to my master, but it is necessary to remind you that if you have been so used to it, it will not be long before it will be so heavy that you can't hold it. I thought about it carefully, and it seems that this is indeed necessary. Jean smiled with satisfaction. Master, it's time for us to go back. The owner and wife will also be back today. My parents are at home. They're on the train and they're supposed to go back before us. I haven't seen you for more than half a year, but they have said more than once that they miss their precious son. Aaron only half believed this sentence, because even before he went to school, the number of times their family reunited could be counted. I'm going to say hello to my friend first. Should be. Aaron walked up to Draco, and beside him stood a middle-aged man with a grim face, pale blonde hair and blue-gray eyes, who should be his father. Seeing Aaron approaching, a smile appeared on Lucius' pale face. You are Aaron, right? More than once Draco wrote me that he had made a pretty good friend. He can have such excellent grades without your help. Thank you very much. You're being polite. This is what I should do as a friend. Aaron said, neither humble nor overbearing, showing great confidence. You are always welcome at Malfoy Manor. If I have time, I will definitely go. Harry Potter. At this moment, a lowly voice screamed, and Lucius frowned slightly. Is that Weasley? Draco looked at the little red-haired girl following Mrs. Weasley. I heard that they have a youngest sister. Obviously, I saw her when I came to the station last year. Aaron said, we should be able to see her at this year's freshman orientation ceremony. That's really sad. Draco shook his head. Aaron's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. After all, Malfoy and Weasley have been at loggerheads for hundreds of years, so it's normal to have this attitude. Chapter 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is that the friend you made, Master? Jeans asked, looking at Draco's figure. If I remember correctly, they are Malfoy. Is there a problem? Jeans hesitated for a few seconds. One thing I need to remind young Master is that Malfoy is a representative of pure-blood families, and they despise half-bloods and muggle-born wizards very much, and as far as I know, Lucius had a certain relationship with the Dark Lord before, and no one knows if he has broken contact. I know, but Lucius is Lucius and Draco is Draco. I have a sense of proportion in making friends, and I don't misjudge people. Then there's no problem. Jean said with a smile. The young Master won't only make this one friend, will he? How is this possible? He and I were on good terms in Slytherin, though. Aaron curled his lips, then nodded at Harry and the others. Those are Gryffindor's friends. The Weasley family and Harry Potter. Jeans raised his eyebrows. The red hair and the scar on his forehead could already fully demonstrate their identities. Young Master's communication skills are really good. That's a must. At this time, a chubby figure came into the sight of the two of them. In terms of width, Hagrid might not be able to match him. He kept staring at Harry with angry eyes, and there was a thin woman and a fat man standing behind him. It can be seen that Harry Potter's family environment doesn't seem to be very good, and his family doesn't seem to want to see him. Jean said, this is still in public. It is embarrassing that celebrities in the wizarding world grew up in such an environment, but he was lucky. From the moment he entered Hogwarts, his fate changed, and it would change in the future, but before that, he still had to live this kind of life under the fence. On this point, I agree with you. That evening, Aaron returned to his home, and the house elf skillfully moved the suitcase to his bedroom. Abe also took off the outer clothes, and flapped his wings cheerfully in the hall of the castle. That is to say, it can act so recklessly at home, and Aaron would throw it back unceremoniously if he didn't pretend to be a little bit out of the house. When Vico and Lysana saw their baby son come back, they were overjoyed and gave him a hug. It's grown a lot taller. Lysana looked at Aaron, who was 1.6 meters tall, with relief in her eyes. How do you feel at school? Vico coughed. If you regret it, I'll arrange someone to transfer you to another school immediately. Don't need it. Aaron said with a sneer. Dad, I stayed in Slytherin quite well. Really? Vico said angrily. Do you know why we came back? On the one hand, I miss my son, and on the other hand, your principal wrote me a letter. Dumbledore praised you a lot. Your performance is really extraordinary. If you dare to plot the professor against Voldemort, how many lives do you have? That's right. Lysana's expression immediately became serious. We know you won't do anything unsure, but this time it's really too risky. Moreover, Abe's identity was also exposed, and both the Black and White Demon Kings knew of its existence. You have only been in school for 1 year, and you have really caused a lot of trouble. That was an accident. Aaron smiled a little guilty, but he had already scolded Dumbledore in his heart, and this old man dared to sue. It is estimated that Dumbledore started writing letters after he came out of the principal's office, otherwise his parents would not have come back at such a good time. Dumbledore has already read the letter of guarantee. He is aware of our family's influence. I think he may find a way to pull us into the chariot against Voldemort. It's not a possibility, it's a certainty. Vico said firmly, a white wizard who has lived for more than 100 years can't live that long if he doesn't have a heart. Voldemort is not dead, this is the consensus of wise people. A dark wizard who is infinitely close to the Holy Magister is so easy to die. It is a pity that the road is narrowed, otherwise it is possible to go further. But even so, he is quite dangerous. It's a big joke for such a person to die at the hands of a child. Dumbledore knew this too. He had 10 years to prepare, and I'm sure he did well, but he also had no self-confidence. After all, Voldemort was a strong man of the same level as him, and he had a large number of followers. It would be a matter of time before he made a comeback. At this time, a huge wizard family just happened to come into his sight, and he wouldn't believe it if he didn't have any wrong thoughts, but he will find out later that his efforts to focus on our family are completely useless and self-defeating. Of course, the same goes for the Dark Lord. So confident? Aaron was a little surprised. He also has confidence in his family, but this confidence is based on his own potential. As long as he has time, he can have the power to overturn the thief's ship before Dumbledore completely pulls him into the thief's ship, taking a step back, when it is really a last resort. As long as a few large magic circles in the castle are activated, the Holy Magister may not be able to attack. This is his confidence. It has nothing to do with me. I can still live a peaceful life with the door closed. Lucius was still a Death Eater before, but after the downfall of Voldemort, he still retreated with the help of the Malfoy family's financial resources and connections, and he flourished in chaos. The background of the Gaius family is stronger than that of the Malfoy family, so they won't be inferior to them. Confidence is what it should be. Vico said with a calm smile, since the beginning of the magical age, there have been countless brilliant talents, and many of them are wizards who are more powerful than Dumbledore and Riddle. Many ambitious dark wizards have also thought about gaining the support of the hidden family, because compared to pure blood, our influence on the magic world is much greater. But without exception, they all gave up in the end. All 4 families have been patronized, and the worst is the Grand Magister, and one of them is Hogwarts Salazar Slytherin, but we are a little more unlucky. In a few centuries BC, a god of magic came to visit us. His attitude at that time was very tough, either submit or die, not to mention how arrogant. And then? Alan asked impatiently. Humph, guess, hiss. Vico originally wanted to whet his son's appetite, but his wife pinched his arm the next moment, and immediately took a breath. The ancestors of our generation politely invited him into the castle for a cup of tea, and he left in despair, promising that he would never do similar stupid things again. And then what? It's gone. Vico spread his hands naturally. What else do you want to hear, Aaron? Of course it's the reason. With our family's defense system, it shouldn't be able to stop the Foz hen. Want to know the reason? Vico smiled meaningfully, and Lysana also looked at her son teasingly. When Aaron saw this, he knew it was over. In this family, as long as Gaius and his wife stood on the united front, he, the son, would not have any right to speak, and the reason is also very suitable. His age is flawed, and 12 years old is not suitable for touching family secrets. Come and find me after dinner, and I can tell you part of the reason. Vico said suddenly. Aaron was stunned for a moment, surprised and confused. Are you sure to tell me? Is it too early? It may be earlier in the other 3 families, but in our family, as long as the strength has reached, we are qualified to understand these, and we must understand these. Vic said and put his eyes on the ring on Aaron's hand. As expected of me, son, I was considered a genius when I was in school, but it was only when I was 14 that I stepped into the realm of a senior magician. It turns out that your son is better than you. That's something to be proud of. Lysana smiled, then waved to the ceiling, and hugged Abe in her arms. Son, has your pet gotten fat? The food at school is not as good as at home, but it can't hold up to a lot. It's time to lose weight. Ma'am, don't worry, the recipe for losing weight is already being worked out, and it will probably be made tomorrow morning. Jean said with a smile. Abe immediately began to express his dissatisfaction. His 4 white claws kept kicking back and forth, and his wings kept churning. It's useless to be anxious, I won't be able to hold you if I don't lose weight. Lysana didn't care, but seeing Abe's aggrieved eyes, she couldn't help but take a step back. I'll add a chicken leg tonight. Abe was unmoved, and continued to increase his cuteness. Just as Aaron was about to bring it over, Lysana couldn't stand it anymore. In the future, the food will be improved every 3 days, and there really can't be more. Abe immediately calmed down, and Aaron could only sigh secretly that he was a step too late. At dinner time, Aaron was absent-minded, looking at his father across the table, curious about the family's secrets. Others are eating in peace and stability. After all, it is really rare for the family to get together. Only Abe was holding the plate and gnawed wildly there. His belly swelled and didn't stop, making tinkling sounds from time to time, but no one disliked it. They all understand Abe's thoughts. This is a high-intelligence dragon. It knows very well that tonight is one of the few feasts of this holiday, and it will have to tighten its belt like humans in the future. Chapter 99. How many secret rooms does our house have? You are listening at novelfull.audio. After dinner, Aaron hugged Abe and followed closely behind his father and the housekeeper. He has walked this road many times, but it was the first time he was so nervous. Vico stopped in front of a gate, turned around and looked at his son meaningfully. Are you ready? Tonight you will learn the secret to the longevity of the Gaius family. Aaron nodded solemnly. He has been to the treasure house more than once or twice, and the things inside are very familiar. Although rare, it should not be considered a secret. You may be wondering why I brought you here. In fact, any wizarding family with a certain heritage will have its own secret room, and our family is no exception. It's hidden deep enough. Aaron said with emotion, I've been around here so many times, but I don't seem to find anything. Of course you can't find it, because the important thing is never the treasure house, but the method. As Vico spoke, he took out a bunch of keys, all of the same style, but with different materials. The corner of Aaron's mouth couldn't help twitching. He also had the same key, which was a birthday present from his grandfather before. My dear grandson. You have grown up too, so it's time for you to know the background of our family. He remembered this sentence clearly, and it touched him badly at the time, but now that I think about it, they are all routines. The iron keys are incomparable to the ones in Vico's hands. This one is obviously taller. There are gold, silver, copper, wooden, and a few others that he can't say no to. What is the material? If a key corresponds to a secret room, then, how many secret rooms are there in our house? It's a little more than you think anyway. When your grandfather brought me here, my expression was exactly the same as yours, but I was 15 years old at the time, and I was much more able to bear it. I won't talk nonsense anymore. Let you increase your knowledge today. Vico said proudly, and then inserted a key into the lock. Wait, master, it's not this one. When Jean saw that the golden key was inserted into the keyhole, his face changed slightly, and he hurriedly reminded him, but it was still a step too late. Click. Dazzling golden light shot out from the crack of the door, almost dazzled the 3 people's eyes. The door opened, and Aaron walked in full of curiosity, and then the curiosity turned into astonishment, and the pupils even reflected the symbol of money. Abe's Longan was also wide-eyed, and he ran out of Aaron's arms and plunged into it, unable to stop him. This secret room is very large, and its internal structure is exactly the same as that of the treasure house. It's just that there is a large wooden box that can't be seen at a glance, and the wooden box is full of gold, silver, and jewelry, but the more visual impact is the mountains of gold coins piled up high, where gold treasures can be seen everywhere. Oh my God, Aaron couldn't help swallowing. He knew that the Gaius family was not short of money, but he didn't expect it to be so. He finally understood why Jeans would always a look of indifference. There is a mine at home, so he has a home in the mine. Dare to feel that his house is built on a golden mountain. Aaron grabbed a handful of gold coins, and the heavy feeling gave him the idea of lying down. It's better to close the shop or something. This one is enough for him to squander for more than 10 years. So, this is our family secret. Have more money than you can spend. Aaron turned around and looked at his father, still a little overwhelmed, but soon he found a reason for himself. Yes, it must be so. No matter who you are, no matter what you want to do, you can't do without money. If the assets of the Gaius family were placed hundreds of years ago, it would be enough to support a kingdom to launch a war that lasted for decades. Son. No, there's no need to explain. Aaron waved his hand. I understand the reason why money can make ghosts go round. Even the Dark Lord has to bow his head in front of such huge wealth. Not me. Needless to say, let me first accept the fact that the rich can rival the country. Just as Vico was about to explain, there was a clattering sound from the side, and the white holy dragon was swimming in the gold coin pool, having a great time. Dragons like golden things, and this one is no exception. For Abe, Aaron came first, food came second, and the rest was treasure, and this place was heaven for him. Aaron rolled his eyes, walked over and yanked it out, although a little speechless. I feel that it is the natural feeling of a dragon, and I don't have to worry about it. Being sold in the future, having seen this kind of wealth, unless someone can move Gringotts here, it really won't impress it. Son, this is our family's treasury. It really lives up to the name. Is it the same for the other 3 families? I don't know. The 4 hermit families are united and help each other, but they also perform their duties. I really don't know about financial resources, but even if it's not as good as ours, it shouldn't be much worse. Aaron thought the same thing. After thousands of years of accumulation, it is a bit exaggerated to build a mine, but it is not unacceptable. Ahem. Jeans coughed dryly. Master, should you get down to business? Yes, I almost forgot. Vico smiled awkwardly but politely. We came to the wrong place. We have to go to another secret room. This is just the treasury, and what follows is the real secret of the family. Aaron also became serious, and became more curious in his heart. It seemed that their family had something more important than this treasure. Vico led the way to the end of the vault. He stood there for a while, and the wall began to shake slowly. A huge amount of gold coins scattered to both sides, revealing an identical door, with a familiar keyhole suddenly appearing in the center of the door. Vico took out the bunch of keys this time, carefully selected the silver key, and inserted it into the lock. You won't make a mistake this time, will you? Certainly not. There was a creaking sound, and the inside of the door was pitch black, which was much deeper and more mysterious than the grandeur of the vault. Aaron and Abe looked back reluctantly, as if they were about to say goodbye to this treasure after one glance. Master, these will be yours from now on. Jeans shook his head with a smile, so don't be reluctant. Aaron stepped into the black secret room, and as soon as he entered, the door closed. Immediately afterwards, rows of lights illuminated the darkness, and the things in this secret room made Aaron's eyes widen again. But Abe obviously couldn't arouse any interest, and arrogantly turned the dragon's face away. This secret room was relatively small, and there were no large wooden boxes in it, but only dozens of shelves filled with all kinds of cold weapons, bows, swords, machetes, daggers, hammers, shields, and all kinds of armor are available. Moreover, these weapons are also well maintained, and you can feel the sharp coldness just by getting close. These are antiques. You are right in saying that. Any one of these has a history of hundreds of years. Vico explained, it is a little early for you to be exposed to these at the age of 12, but it is not that there were no more geniuses than you before. About 700 years ago, there was a member of the family who entered this secret room when he was 10 years old. Does that make any difference? Of course there are. Vico said with some reverence. This ancestor was a high-level magician when he was only 10 years old, and his talent can be ranked among the top 5 in the genealogy. 10 years old. Top 5? Aaron was surprised. He was only 11 years old when he opened up and reached this level. Although he hardly used magic points to improve his magic power, the gap of a whole year can also explain the problem. This ancestor is a true genius, a genius among geniuses, and Dumbledore and Voldemort are not even ranked in comparison with him. Why? Can't you accept someone stronger than you? Vico looked at his son's surprised appearance and wanted to laugh a little. His son often teased himself because of his talent, although it was his wish for his son to be promising, he was somewhat unhappy. There is a sky beyond the sky, and there are people beyond the people. Your little talent is only on the stage. Aaron curled his lips in disdain. I also have self-knowledge, and I never felt that I was number one, but my talent is only on the stage, so father, your talent is just. You dare to arrange Lao Tzu. Vico's face darkened, but he calmed down quickly. But what you said is also good, so my job is much easier. Aaron's heart jumped, and he always felt that there was something in these words. What do you mean? This is not the time for you to know. Vico changed the subject without a trace. Do you have any thoughts after seeing these weapons? Aaron thought for a while. They should be quite valuable, not less valuable than gold. Vico staggered and almost failed to stand still, but thinking that his son was dazzled by a large vault just before, it is understandable to have such a thought. Anything else? Don't you have the urge to try? These weapons are all excellent products, extremely sharp. It is not an exaggeration to say that they can cut iron like mud. Not at all. Aaron shook his head lightly. The times have changed long ago. Muggle wars are all guns. Although cold weapons will not be eliminated, they are really not very useful. Chapter 100 Misunderstandings that Wizards Easily Walk Into. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Vico walked up to his son and patted him on the shoulder with an extremely serious expression. Just when Aaron felt that what he said was wrong and made his father unhappy, the corner of Vico's mouth slightly raised. Dad is very pleased that you can realize this, but the ancestors of our family you can think of can naturally think. Then you still bring me here. Aaron was speechless looking at the warehouse full of cold weapons. Even wizards can't stop the bullets these days. No matter how good the sword is, it is useless, and it will still burp if you shoot it down. The times have changed, but we are never behind the times. Vico put on an unfathomable look, and then drew out a short sword. Let's not talk about that, you can try the power of this sword first. Fineness. Aaron took over the dagger, but the moment he held the hilt, he clearly felt that a small part of his own magic energy had been lost, and it was poured into the dagger uncontrollably. This is... Aaron raised his eyebrows in surprise. Magic weapon. That he tried to swing it, and the extremely crisp sword whistle could be heard endlessly, and the robe on his body also danced slightly. Aaron's eyes lit up, and he became more interested in these cold weapons. If it's just cutting iron like mud, it's not worth changing his opinion, because it's just a mortal thing, but if it's a magic weapon, that's another matter. King Arthur once used the sword in the stone to fight against a city alone, but that is not a legend, but the real deeds cannot be told clearly in a few words. In addition to the human race, King Arthur's enemies in that war also had countless monsters. Guinness explained, whether it is the wizarding world or the Muggle world, a powerful weapon is enough to change a battle. Although the weapons here are not as good as the sword in the stone, they are much more powerful than ordinary weapons, and they also have a certain degree of restraint against magical creatures. Compared with the weapons made by Muggles, they are much worse. That's it. Vico shrugged. I'll give you a gun to deal with the dragon. I'm afraid the scales of the dragon won't break even if all the bullets are fired. In addition, there are ghosts, vampires, werewolves, etc., and firearms do little damage to them, but having such a weapon is different. It will definitely get twice the result with half the effort. Aaron nodded, and put the dagger on the weapon rack. Which one is the most powerful weapon in the treasury? Vico and Jins looked at each other and smiled. After all, they are children, so they are a little impatient. Cut. If you don't say it, don't say it. There are only so many weapons here. At worst I will try them one by one. Vico was stunned for a moment, and then smiled more happily. I advise you to stop thinking about it. I thought so too before, but after working hard for several days, I couldn't find it. No way. Aaron opened his mouth in astonishment, then seemed to think of something, and looked at these weapons in astonishment. Isn't the most powerful one here? Smart, you can see through a little bit. Aaron pursed his lips and gave the housekeeper a wronged look. Uncle Jeans, can you tell me? No. Jins shook his head with a wry smile. Even the master can't use that sword casually, let alone me. Cough cough. Don't say what you shouldn't say, save some face for me. Sword. Can't you use it casually? Aaron raised his eyebrows and asked with interest, could it be the legendary sword in the stone? Oh, my dear, that should be considered the category of artifacts. What are you thinking about? Vico rolled his eyes. The sword in the stone is too powerful. It was sealed by Merlin after the death of King Arthur. No one knows where it is hidden. Isn't it? Then I'm so disappointed. What do you know? Although the sword in our family is not as good as the sword in the stone, it is not far behind. It is a masterpiece forged in the depths of the volcano for several years with various rare treasures by the ancient elves. Friendship of the Gaius family, because of its special meaning, it cannot be used casually. Can I take a look? I promise I'll just take a look. Aaron rubbed his hands excitedly, his eyes were quite sincere. The weapons here are all rare boutiques, not to mention the treasures of the elves. If you can't satisfy the following curiosity, don't mention how irritating it is. Yes. Vico did not disappoint his son, but added when Aaron was about to laugh, when your sword skills are recognized by genes. Aaron, although it was a disappointment, he still picked one out of hundreds of weapons. Bring it on. Now. Jeans frowned slightly. Master, with all due respect, you are not even a beginner now, and it is too early to challenge me. I understand, I just want to know the gap. This. Jeans hesitated for a moment, then turned to look at Vico, as if asking for his opinion. Vico didn't speak, just nodded slightly. Jeans understood instantly and taught the young master a lesson, but he couldn't hurt him. Soon he also took a sword, but after thinking about it, he replaced the sword with a dagger, and finally picked a dagger, which was less than 1/10 the length of the sword in Aaron's hand. Aaron saw the opponent's process of choosing a weapon, and said a little annoyed, You look down on me too much. It's not that I look down on you, but I'm mainly worried about hurting you. Jeans waved the dagger in his hand. You don't have to worry so much about using this. It sounds reasonable, but Aaron still feels a little angry. Dad, you judge. Jeans is a professional, Vico said, I can't get involved in that. All right. Aaron didn't say much anymore. He held the sword in both hands, and assumed a fighting posture. Jeans didn't take it seriously, but still clenched the dagger in his hand. Vico drew his wand, a golden spark shot from the tip, and the duel began. Aaron swung his sword quickly, and the wind howled. This is the sound of the long sword cutting through the air. The hilt and blade are also burning hot, and the silver sword body is also shining with blue light under the supply of magic energy, as if it is about to burn. Jeans raised his eyebrows, smiled and raised his dagger to block. Click. The long sword and the dagger collided together. One side was the power generator, and the other side was the interceptor. Aaron wanted to take advantage of it, and pressed the dagger down a few inches. However, Jeans simply turned his body sideways, and the dagger in his hand slid forward quickly, rubbing against the long sword to create a string of sparks. Aaron only felt that his eyes were shaking, and when he opened his eyes, the dagger was already in front of his neck, and his sword stopped on the left side of Jeans. It's a loss. Aaron murmured, somewhat unable to accept it. In fact, it was also the first time for him to use a sword, and he knew how much he weighed. Opponents who are not the butler are for sure, but he feels that he can survive a round or two more or less, but he didn't expect that he would lose in less than 2 seconds. Very simply. Not bad. Don't comfort me, let me be quiet. It's really not bad. Jeans praised, although the attack is relatively immature and the adaptability is not enough, but the momentum is well managed, at least much better than those beginners. In other words, young master, you are still quite powerful, stronger than the original patriarch. Vico's old face darkened. Don't talk about this. Yes. Jin smiled embarrassingly, and put the dagger back on the shelf. Son, how do you feel? Very bad, there is a deep sense of frustration. That's right. Vico pondered, this holiday, your task is to learn swords from genes. What? Aaron looked a little embarrassed. He admitted that the weapons here were quite good, but he didn't feel the need to learn the sword. He is a wizard, not a swordsman, and a wand is enough. Vico was not surprised to see him like this, as if he had expected it. Okay. I know you might be a little reluctant. Indeed, magic is more powerful than weapons, and magic weapons are also a kind of magic. You think so? Is not it? Of course not. Vico said seriously, it's understandable that you have this kind of thinking, and I thought so before, but son, I have to tell you a fact, a misunderstanding that all wizards are prone to fall into. The wand is also a kind of magic weapon. There is only one real power for wizards, and that is magic power. Other means are auxiliary, but they are indispensable, especially the ability of close combat. Aaron was silent for a while when he heard the words, but after thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be the case. The wand only makes the process of casting spells smoother, but for wizards, it is not impossible to get along without a wand, otherwise there would be no such thing as casting spells with or without a wand. But then you don't have to practice swords. Compared with those cold weapons, I am still more accustomed to using wands, and it is definitely easier to cast spells at close range than using swords. Hearing this, Vico smiled and shook his head. In short, learning the sword is good, you won't suffer, and you will be able to use it sooner or later. Give me a reason. Aaron said a little unconvinced. This is a family rule. As long as you are a senior magician, you must learn to use a sword. You have a vacation time, but the sword is just the beginning. There are other things you need to learn. Any comments? Aaron, you even brought out the house rules. Dare I say there are